Time has come once again to speak as co-creators in Magic Do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone, and we are your hosts on your journey into the heart of the primordial.
Welcome to Season 9, Episode 12. We got to do it too.
Yeah, that's fair. Gonna
Yeah.
walk the talk.
Yeah. Well, just before we recorded, Michaela was asking me how my week was going, and I was like, well, my magic has gone through another transition. And part of it is like because of the work we're doing here on the podcast, I just, the spirits have a better idea what they need to accomplish there to have their stuff mapped out. So I just basically went along, right? And was just a conduit for whatever. But I was treating my personal magic the same way. And then today this week, it finally sunk into me that no, your magic that you're doing for yourself is separate from your magic that you're doing with the podcast. And you have to take the lead in your personal magic, which is good
Yeah,
because not taking the lead has pretty much had consequences. Because, you feel powerless in everything you do because you don't have any kind of agency in what you're doing. But no, your personal magic is your personal magic, and you have all your agency. Like we say at the beginning of every episode, you're co-creating.
right. So it's the responsibility piece, right?
Yeah,
Because if you are being a conduit, then well, it's going through me. It's not me doing it. And I guess you've been called out on that.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. It's fascinating how things happen that way. We get called on our own bullshit, and it's like, oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah,
I have that happen all the time, which is why I feel I can say it to you. It's not like I'm
yeah,
saying, oh, well, I would never experience. No, I got that most days. Like, yeah. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? Is
right.
to discover where we're bullshitting, abdicating responsibility, sidestepping, ooh, bypassing,
Mm,
right? That's
yeah,
that's a big thing. Spiritual bypassing.
yes,
That's a bit of a buzzword these days, but it's there for a reason, right?
right,
People do try and cut corners,
yes,
and you can't.
right. And I'd like to point out to the listener who's not seeing this is that Michaela used a wand to punctuate what she was saying.
I did. I'm waving a wand at him,
Yeah,
and I'm not going to turn you into a newt.
yeah,
The number of times recently I've had to say to people, no, I do not turn people into newts. If I did, there'd be a hell of a lot of newts around here. But, no, don't have that
yeah,
ability. I'm kind of feeling like I should. I'm starting to feel like I'm missing out. Why can't I turn people into newts?
yeah. It's interesting. Um,
Maybe I can, and I haven't tried hard enough.
it's a possibility. It's very much a possibility.
I'm still waving the wand, so be
Yeah.
careful where it lands.
Because there's a lot of changes happening. A lot of changes have been made to the way magic works in the world since 2025 or starting in 2025. So I don't know. Like, I'm not going to go and say you can turn people into newts, but I'm not going to say no because I don't know.
You know what?
But
Actually, we should be careful with that
yeah.
because in the US right now, as I've sent you
Hmm.
some stuff recently
Yes.
showing you the talk of witch hunts and the talk of witches being satanic, and if you do something that's witchcraft, then it must of necessity be demonic and all of
Right.
this. Um, this language is the kind of language that was being used before they went after trans people.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely the powers that be here are setting the stage for another witch hunt. And the
Oh,
thing
yeah.
is, it's not just going to be the witches, it's going to be anybody that's not Christian.
Well, and I'm gonna say for although I don't know if we would have any listeners from the who are Mormon, but you're on that list now too because you're not considered Christian according to the
Well,
military, the
I
U.S.
think
military.
they may have redefined
They did.
that.
They had because they had Christian hyphen whatever and whatever
No, but I mean,
denomination.
since
Oh,
then,
oh
they
yeah,
got called out on it by a bunch of irate
yeah.
Mormons who were in a
So they might have put them
position
back
of
on.
power,
Yeah,
and so they've redefined that. So I think Mormons are
yeah.
okay
They're put back on. Yeah,
now. But here's the thing. See how easy that was.
yeah.
It was easy to be taken off the list of acceptable people, and it was easy
Hmm.
to be put back on the list of
Yes.
acceptable people.
And we talked
So
about
what
that
that
last episode.
tells you,
Yeah.
uh-huh, but what that tells you is just how arbitrary and shallow the whole thing
Yes.
is, right? But the witch hunt thing is definitely taking shape. People are using the rhetoric more.
Hmm.
And I'm watching this. I'm seeing it like storm clouds gathering.
Yeah.
Um, it's and the thing is, they're still doing the divide and conquer in the
Yeah.
US, and they're doing it effectively, so that people are still buying into the whole. Well, it's not me. It
Yeah.
won't be me. I'm okay. And way back in on October 8th, I guess, right after Gaza attacked
Hmm.
Israel. I started posting then about first they came for this type of person,
Yeah.
then they came for this one, then they came for that one. And each time, I stayed quiet. And then finally they came for me, and there was no one left. I started posting that kind of meme at
Right.
that time. And we're there. We're in that
Yeah.
space right now where certain groups are being targeted, and you've still got a huge amount of people saying, well, it's not me though. It won't be me. I'm fine. I'm not in that demographic.
Yeah.
Mate, it takes the stroke of a pen for you to be in some goddamn demographic that they don't
Yeah.
like. It
Yeah.
takes a second. It's
Yeah. Well,
nothing.
that's the thing. The people who fall for the divide and conquer don't realize that it's just a tactic to reduce your power and your cooperation. Like, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. Like, I still don't know the name of the Mexican group, but it was a Mexican group. The Black Panthers and the Ku Klux Klan got together to solve a problem that was affecting their town. The Klans members stopped being Klans members because they realized that this was a false division because they all had way more in common than they had different. And so
Right.
they ended up quitting the Klan. And that's basically what everyone should keep in mind. All your divisions are there just one to distract for those of you who visually are within the main group, you're not protected.
Mhm.
You're cover until they don't need you anymore.
Oh, yeah. Until you question
Yeah.
or until you disagree, God forbid, you
Yeah.
disagree with something, or you just simply become superfluous to
Yeah.
requirements. They don't need you there anymore. And then you are so easy to dispose of, and you got nothing left because nobody's coming to save your ass.
That's right.
And
Because
you
you're the last
stand
line.
by and watch. Exactly. And you stood by and watch everybody else. So we're actually living in that right now, which is
Yeah.
bizarre. But anyway, I'm watching the
Well,
storm clouds gather for the witch hunt, and I'm just, I wonder what form it will take. What are they going to do?
yeah. I'm
But
reminded of that whole,
Pete,
what would you have done? What do you think you would have done, during Nazi occupation? Well, whatever you're doing now, that's what you would have done.
we see an awful lot of what people
Yeah.
would have done in that time. Yes. I'm not going to go there this time. I had quite a rant about it in the last episode.
Yeah.
Um, but I think, yeah, the witch hunt thing. I mean, Pete Hegseth even mentioned Earth Earth worshipping pagans. think that was the phrasing he used.
Oh,
Connection with the Boy Scouts. Okay. And there's like he's focusing on the Boy Scouts even as the US is at war with Iran.
yeah.
And this badge that Boy Scouts can earn that involves them learning about diversity, equity,
Oh,
and
yeah.
inclusion.
Yeah.
Um, the Boy Scouts have now removed that badge,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because Pete Hegseth didn't like it. What the fuck is going on? Like, what kind of lunacy are we living in at the moment? The Boy Scouts are something that the Secretary of Defense or War, depending on who
Yeah.
you talk to, he's going to put his drunken gaze on
Yeah.
that while we have all hell breaking loose in the Middle East.
Yeah.
This does not make sense, right? But it's another area where, well, this is a big organization and, kids all across the US are involved. So that means
Yes.
their parents are involved. So we're going to target
Hmm.
those, and if they're not Christian, mm,
Yeah.
and pretty soon, for anyone remarkable enough to be Christian and listening to this, your group is not safe either because maybe you're not quite Christian enough.
Right.
Maybe you're not paying your tithes, or maybe
Yeah.
you're paying them to the wrong people. Like
Hmm.
anybody that's paying attention should know you are not safe, whether
Yeah.
you identify out loud as a witch or not. So that's, you know, don't back out of what you're working on. Don't step down from your magic because you're afraid of what might happen. It's already going to happen, whatever it is, and it will happen whether you back down or not. So
Well,
I'm
that's the
here to
thing, right?
say, own it, do it, be there.
Even if you recant, it doesn't matter
Ah,
because you were already part of it and you can always go back. So, and that's just giving an on, like, that's just me pretending that they might actually have an honest reason. It's not an honest reason, but it would be the excuse they would use. You can always go back. You can always go back. So we can't allow it.
there is no honest reason,
Right.
but I just wanted to, it came to me really that I needed to point out this is not the time to back down from however you present yourself in this world, whatever you are putting out there loud and proud. This is not the time to back down
Actually,
because that won't save you. It will not save your ass. So don't do it.
yeah. Actually, a lot of readings I've been doing lately, even just personal ones, are keep having that theme of you have to speak up, you have to speak up, you have to speak up. You have to use your voice. You have like that's getting it keeps showing up.
Massively so. And I mean,
Yeah.
women are facing so much pressure right now and reduction in our humanity.
Hmm.
And not speaking up is the curse of women for the last few hundred years where women haven't spoken up. And that's why these things are allowed to take root. And when women do speak up, just think of the history of the suffragettes and so on. It was appalling the things that happened to them. You treat another human being this way, like it was absolutely savage. We are back at the savage times.
Yeah. It's
So, just espousing something that you don't believe in right now or pretending otherwise, that you're not who you are, none of that's going to save your ass. That's my point. So you might as well embrace who you came to be and find others who will like you.
well, that's the thing, right? So I got excited there for a
Community.
second. You got me excited there for a second
Be excited. Go for it.
because like a flow opened up. You're better off now to strengthen your magic and get into it 100% because that's what's going to give you the ability to get past what's happening. It's like, we had used the analogy, I think it was a couple episodes ago, about the bridges falling behind you. So the bridge isn't trying to stop you from crossing. You just have to start running faster to beat the bridge collapse. But the way forward is open to you. but you have to run. You have to go towards it. You can't stop and say,
Mhm.
"Oh shit, the bridge is collapsing." You have to realize you're on the front of the problem. You're ahead of it. You're still able to do and get to where you want to go.
And community, as you pointed out with the clan and
Mm-hmm.
the gang members, who else was it? It
There's the
was the
Black
clan, the
Panthers
gang
and
members, Black
there's the Black
Panthers.
Panthers, the Ku Klux Klan, and I can't remember the name of the Mexican group. Oh, it was Mexican immigrants into the town. I can't
But I
remember the name
mean,
of the group.
but when they all got together,
Yeah,
their power was stronger than the
right.
problem.
Well, yes,
And
because there was a company that
that is
owed
the
the
point.
workers money or something like that, and they refused to pay, and they got together and they got the payment. And that's when they
Mhm.
realized, holy shit, we're stronger if we work together. And that's the Klan. Like,
But this is the point. This
yeah,
is exactly where we are right now. You put it perfectly with that story
yeah,
that this is where we are. You've got to find like-minded people and create communities. I'm
yeah,
really hoping to see communities all over the place that can then link up and show those who would divide and conquer that no, they are not as powerful as they pretend they are,
right,
and they don't get to have the final say. But we have to build those communities to do that.
right.
So
And
but
we discussed this
pretending you
too.
are not who you are
Yeah,
is not the way to do that.
yeah. Like, and the flow on that right now is like for what I'm getting is like crazy. It's like I'm still excited about the whole concept. It's like really pushing through. It's time to strengthen who you are, not hide it. Because,
Uh-huh.
yeah, because if they had the power to do what they want to do, they wouldn't be building all these data centers. They wouldn't be pushing all these laws through. They wouldn't be doing all these divisive tactics. They wouldn't be revising all these lists of who gets to be what religion matters in the army. Like these things wouldn't be happening if they had the power that they're pretending to have.
Right. And now you've got women saying, "Oh no, we don't need to have the vote. We can have one household, one vote because,
Yeah,
the men will be biblical men." The fuck does that even
yeah,
mean? They're going to be biblical men. I don't know, but last time I read the Bible, and I actually have, because if you're going to diss a book, you really should read it
yes,
first. And so, I have, and I've studied religion quite a lot. And yeah, there's nothing about the biblical male that makes me think, oh yeah, I want me one of them.
yeah,
So if they're talking about that quite literally, then eek. And if you're talking about somebody who's so, they got a book so far up their arse that that's all they can talk about, then again, I question the choices being made here. This is pretty low level stuff.
yeah. You know what? This brings up a good story for me. So I like to say I do contract work for at least one entity claiming to be God. And one of the things I did, I was talking to someone who was a true believer, quote unquote, and I asked the question. I says, "Well, what do you believe in, the Bible or actually God?" Well, the Bible, the Bible. I'm like, the Bible's a book. So if God came to you and told you to do something that wasn't written in the Bible, you wouldn't believe God, kind of a thing. I'm like, that seems pretty strange. You'll accept the pamphlet, but not the actual person who wrote the pamphlet. Is word on something.
This is one of the things
Yeah,
that makes my heart happy is
yeah,
picking apart the religious bullshit that people come
yeah,
out with because it invariably is when you start paring it down to,
yeah,
does that make sense? Like, so you are telling me that a book that has been translated through several languages, several
yeah,
political agendas
yes,
over many, many centuries, and you're telling me that that book is 100% accurate and what you should live your life by. Can you hear yourself?
yeah.
Like, is that really? And honestly, pick a book, pick a thing, and you can trace back a fair amount of its journey, right? Never all
Mm-hmm.
of it, of course, but you can trace back a fair bit and you can see when things changed and things got rewritten to suit the society and to suit
Yeah,
where people wanted to navigate the masses to.
yep.
It's a political agenda. And I mean, this is any book ever. None of
Well,
them are unadulterated.
yeah,
Humans can't do it. They can't just literally translate a thing and not mess with it. Even if it's unintentional, they're going to mess with it because sometimes they can't conceive of what they're looking at. So, for example, the Hebrew for young woman
Right.
and the Hebrew for virgin is a very Dalet and Resh are two letters in
Right.
the Hebrew alphabet that are very written very similarly. They're just slightly different in length of the
Right.
letter.
Mhm.
Literally, that's it. And you can imagine now you've got a handwritten scroll on what? Certainly not nice, smooth paper.
Right.
The ease of looking at that and saying, that can't be right. I'm gonna, it's not
Yes.
miraculous at all. There's nothing interesting here. But if we say virgin, now you got a whole thing. And people make that a very big deal. But again, really, that it just none of it makes sense. You can see where it came from.
Right.
You can see how they managed to get where they got with these writings, but it doesn't actually make sense unless you willfully suspend critical thinking
Yes.
in
Yeah.
in order to feel comfortable that something bigger than you is in charge.
Yeah.
Because, if it's you that's in charge and you that makes your decisions, well, shit. Now you've got a whole load of responsibility you have to take,
Yes.
right? I can't
Well,
say it's God's will.
right. And like we keep saying, right? Magic is taking back your power. Well, that's also taking back your responsibility.
You
And
can't have one without the other.
that's right.
There
It's
are those
interesting.
that try, but you can't really do it.
Yeah. When you were talking, it made me think about the current things I keep hearing about Jesus, right? And I can kind of see why people are saying it because it's like Jesus didn't die for your sins. He died because he fought power.
Mhm.
And then they just kind of, oh no, he died for your sins. No, 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 no. Roman emperors wouldn't have just killed him. Like Rome wouldn't have killed him, and he wouldn't have been whatever, whatever you want to look at. He wouldn't have been turned in by people in power to be executed if he was just saving you from sin, because no one would have cared. Everyone just said, yeah, well, okay, whatever. But it was because he was being followed and he was telling you to do things. He was prescribing things to do to fight Roman power and to fight power in general, corrupted power in general.
And think of this too. If Jesus was truly the
Mm,
Son of God,
right.
and therefore God is daddy,
Yeah.
God is watching what's going on, and God is absolutely invested in this, right? Because there's a whole thing happening here, and if he's going to die for your sins, what kind of being is it that requires such a sacrifice? What kind of being does that? And to say, well, it's beyond your human comprehension, fuck off. That's an escape, right? Like, no, seriously, what kind of being would do that to its own offspring and then call it good, but yet not call it good because people are still having wars and they're
Right.
still having all these things happen. And sin means missing the mark, by the way.
Yeah.
So people are still missing the mark all over the place. How did that work? So now you're supposed to say, well, I've done a bunch of things that weren't exactly on point, meaning missing the mark, therefore sins.
Hmm.
But if I say I believe in Jesus and it'll all be fine. Again, somebody with more imagination than I needs to explain that in a way that I can wrap my frontal lobes around it because to me, that just sounds like the biggest crock of shit that has ever been sold, and so many people buy it. And it's not just Christianity. Pick a religion, they all do it. But wow, like this whole concept. I think I'm going to kill you so that other people's sins can be forgiven, but they have to believe in you first.
Yeah.
And what about one of my favorite questions? Okay, so what about people in deepest, darkest Africa who
Hmm.
are yet to make contact with the rest of the world? God help them, may they stay that way.
Yeah.
But you know, what about them? Because they cannot accept Jesus, they don't hear of Jesus. So what
Yeah.
happens then? Or if you've got somebody who is intellectually disabled,
Right.
mentally ill, you go through all these different things. How are they going to overcome this original sin that everybody's supposed to be born with? That's very Christian, though. The other religions don't have that.
Mm.
Um, but how do you overcome this sin thing under those circumstances?
Yeah.
You can't, can you? So, yes, it's a very happy pastime of mine is to pull religions apart because they're just so silly. They're so easy to pull apart. Now, when
Yeah.
somebody gets offended by this, wounded even, do I feel badly? Honestly, no, not really. Once upon a time, I did sort of think, well, maybe that's not kind. But the thing is, what I've discovered is the same people don't give a shit about what I believe.
Mm.
So, and they will trample all over that, thinking that they're being very righteous. So I don't think I have to be too concerned
Right.
about their wounded feelings.
Yeah.
I may be wrong on that.
I will
We'll
I will
find
offer
out one
this.
day.
I'll offer you a slight twist on it. Like me, I don't
Go
feel
for it.
bad that I said it. I feel bad that they went through a whole lifetime where they had to have this happen so that their feelings are hurt. Not because I did it. I don't feel responsible in any way, shape, or form for the hurt because I just gave information. The reaction to the information comes from a bunch of people doing stuff to them and them accepting that stuff. And I
Yeah,
feel
I
bad
don't feel bad
from
about
a,
that either.
what do you call it, when you're not directly involved, you just kind of like sympathetically feel bad for them.
Yeah, no, I don't even have that, honestly,
Yeah.
because we all have our journey and we have our
Yeah.
stuff to go through. And if it took you a lifetime to learn this, well, okay, I'm sorry it took you a lifetime to learn it, but at least you got there. And I'm not going to spend time being sympathetic because, again, the same people will have been very quick to condemn what you
Yes.
believe and what
Yeah.
you do. And they're very quick to say, you must be a nutcase. Look at you hugging that tree. Or why are you playing in the dirt? You're an
Yeah.
adult. And so on and so forth. But mm, I don't know. You can go get your piece of paper and read it again and tell me how
Mm.
how life altering it is, and I'll continue to play in the dirt.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I had
And
another
grow the
thought coming
plants
up,
and
but I
things.
kind of lost it. But
Or it'll come
I
back.
do. Oh yeah.
See?
When people like what I find is yes, this came to me from watching. Oh, what the hell was it? Tony Randall played the character in it. Shit. Anyway, it was like a whole. There was this like traveling circus, right? And it had like it had the serpent from the Garden of Eden. It had a mermaid. It was like a really fantastical circus. I don't remember the name of the movie. It was from a book. But anyway, so this middle-aged woman encounters like the serpent from it's literally in the movie the serpent from the Garden of Eden, and the serpent is telling her stuff about herself, and she's all insulted, and she runs away, and she approaches Tony Randall's character, who's the curator and owner of the circus, and he basically points out, he says like some people grow old and become wise, and some people grow old and forget to become wise. And it kind of makes me think of like, and I was like young when I saw it because I think it came out in the late 60s or something like that. And I wasn't old enough for that. So I saw it on TV. But it made me think like some people grow old, but they don't grow self-aware. And
Mhm,
the primary indicator of it that usually tips me off right away, if nothing else tips me off, which usually there will be stuff, but if someone says, there's something about the music I grew up with. It's just like better than music, today or before. And I'm like, you're not self-aware. You have no self-awareness if you can make this statement to me. Because the music you grew up with is the music you linked to your emotions. And so
mhm,
you're always going, that core emotional set you build is always going to be connected to that music. And that music is always going to feel better to you. And so if you
mhm,
never give new music a chance, you can't link it to, and you keep reinforcing that link, right? By listening to the same music over and over and over and over again. So if you never listen to new music, you can't make that link either.
okay, beautiful.
Right?
People do exactly that with their traumas.
Yeah.
100%. I was working with a client yesterday and we had exactly that conversation because she keeps doing it, where you have this childhood that you experienced, you have these events, like pick a thing, it doesn't matter. You had a bunch of stuff happen and it meant something, you made it mean something, and you put that into the mix of who you are, right? Now, the difference here is, do you recognize it for what it was, which was an experience that you need to learn from? Or do you keep revisiting it and rerunning those feelings that you attach to the story? And it's exactly what you just said about music. Because the more you replay those stories and you attach the emotions to it, the more your brain thinks, oh, we're still there, we're still doing this. And it becomes you. It's your story
Yeah.
now. It's how and who you are. It absolutely doesn't have to be at all. It can be changed at any given moment. Nobody has to be stuck in this. But there are people who choose to be stuck in it because they feel to leave it behind either invalidates the pain they had, so they want to feel it again to make sure it's
Right.
still there, or it's just too scary to know what happens if you step out of that victimhood, that whole story, and now take action for yourself. Like, eek. What happens if I can't blame somebody else for the shit that happens to me? And that connects very well with what you were just saying about the music, because I can hear songs and I
Mhm.
will remember the location. Like I can probably tell you what country I was in when this music was playing
Right.
and I really got into it. And it will remind me of all the things about that country that I liked, right? Funnily enough, it doesn't remind me of any of the negative things. And it takes me right back to that moment. So if it's a country I enjoyed being in,
Right.
I'm going to want to hear that music. You bet, because it takes me straight back to it. And unapologetically so. Yeah, if I can do that by listening to some music, 100% I'm going to do it.
Right.
Doesn't mean that the music's better or worse. It means I associate it with something that
Yes.
I really like. People do that with their trauma. They associate the trauma with current events that they can kind of stay stuck in or refuse to work from because they're still in their trauma story. And so they just go straight back to the trauma story again
Yep.
and loop it for you one more time, just in case you didn't hear it before. And and they're doing all the feelings. This client, she cries when
Hmm.
she tells me this stuff. And I'm like, but that was, 30 years ago. And it's yes, it's valid, but it doesn't have to be attached. Like you don't have to be in it still. It
Right.
was 30 years ago. You can put it down now, give it a seat, duct tape it. Like tell it to shut the fuck up. You don't have to keep living that thing again. And she just looks at me with these big eyes, like non comprende.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And that's exactly the person who says my music was better than your music.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And like I don't tell the person, no, you can't like your music. But like when I hear that, I'm like, there's no freaking way that someone can't come up with a new song that's just as good or better than something you used to listen to when you were younger. Right. So then I would go, well, what do I think is bad music? Right. And I would give myself a criteria. Okay, well, if I think this is what bad music is, and then I go back and listen to the music I grew up with that I think is so special, and I start to discover, wow, like that's, you know, and then I think back, like, because like if people from my parents' generation or older were talking and they're saying my music sucked, and I'm like, well, why did they say that? And I look at it and I'm like, oh, I see it. I see why. The only reason I think it's awesome is because I was born into that, and that's was the new thing, and I was connecting it to my emotions. But if I had connected my emotions to something else, I probably would have thought that was stupid too. You know,
Right.
like I now actually have a hard time watching TV shows I used to watch growing up because I go back to them and I'm like, oh yeah, all the things I did and like they're still represented in this media too.
Uh-huh. But that's a really good illustration of
Hmm.
when we get stuck and maybe don't realize that we've lodged in
Right.
a time zone with a set of stories. And I mean, not to say that it's all bad. Like I have certain
Hmm.
music that I listen to and it recreates those feelings and I happen to like them.
Hmm.
So I'm going to totally go there. There's also current music that I just love
Yeah.
and that makes me happy too, and I'll go there. So if you're stuck in any area, whether it's music, it's a story that you have on repeat, it that tells you it needs to be looked at and
Yeah.
considered. Is this something I want to do here? It might not be, but I mean, at least look at it
Yeah.
because there might well be. And if you've got beliefs that, okay, you believed it when you were 20, do you still believe it now?
Right.
Do you have to? Did you not learn anything different since
Yeah.
then? That's one of the things with holding a belief your entire life is if it's unexamined, um, did you honestly learn nothing in all that time? Nothing that alters the shape of that belief at all? That's
Yeah.
mind-blowing to me. And scary too, I gotta say.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's interesting. And like when I have a discussion to hear someone say that, I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate that you've achieved the age you've achieved and you haven't gone past that concept.
Mm, yeah. It's just, oh, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
And I, the thing for me is I do tend to think, okay, it's your last day on Earth. You
Mm.
have time to look back at the things you've done. How are you going to feel about that? And I do tend to assume some kind of awareness at that moment. So if you do have an additional awareness at that moment and you look back over your life, are you going to be looking back at the same day lived like 86 times, 86 years? Or, did you make progress somewhere? Are you okay with what you did? Like, are you leaving something on the table that you shouldn't be leaving? It's
Yeah.
a concern to me that I may cock things up, but I don't really want to leave them unlooked at.
Yeah. It's funny. And so for you guys listening who are part of the second wave, and I would think that the people listening now are adjacent at least to the second wave. Because like I really like in all honesty, oh, freedom, freedom crow, the
Just
crow of freedom.
I just pulled a card, so excuse the interruption.
Yeah.
Embrace freedom as the ability to make choices that align with your values and aspirations. Et voila.
Yes. Also, I was gonna say, like, from the magical perspective, well, like I said, like I don't know, like I think maybe the listeners now that we have that are still because we have like a fairly consistent group of listeners
Right.
and at this point, and I would think they're either were part of the first wave and they're just kind of interested and they're still hanging on, or some people have come because some places like some cities are starting to show up again. They weren't showing up. They showed up at the beginning, listened to 1, 2 episodes, and then went away. Now they're starting. Now I'm starting to get consistent listens from that space or from that area. So there might be people now. It's just their time to come in, and they're at that part. So if you're listening to this, there's probably a chance that anything we're well, there's a great chance anything we're saying is for you.
Uh-huh. And I like to think that sometimes the conversations we have prompt a line of thought
Right.
that might not be directly what we're saying, but it prompted it. And
Yes.
that's the power of conversation, right? Is it gets you thinking in a different direction, which we do to each other all the time. You're talking
Right.
about music, I go off onto trauma with that.
Mm-hmm.
Related, yes, because the process is the same, but
Yes.
the topic is very different. So, I'm hoping that that happens for a lot of people. And, when it comes to your magical
Mm-hmm.
practice, I do pick up that there's fear at this time, precisely because the clouds are gathering for a
Yeah.
witch hunt, and it's important not to give in to that and shrink. This is exactly not the time to shrink.
Yeah.
So whatever it is you do, do more of it so that you are connected to it in a way that you at least recognize I'm not doing anything that's, demonic or unnatural or threatening to others in some way. I mean, hey, maybe you are going around hexing people, in which
Mm-hmm.
case, you do you. But for the vast majority, no, that's not what they're doing. It takes an awful lot of energy to do that, a lot of
Yeah,
focus and what have you. But just do more of what you do. So, if you're out there in nature doing your thing, then do it more. Increase
yeah,
increase your rate, increase your attention, increase what you
yes,
do so that your connection to it is more robust.
right. I was gonna say because this I've seen this in comic books, I've seen this in memes, and it's about like where the idea of if you think they burnt witches, if you think they caught and burnt witches, they didn't, because an actual witch would have had a way out of it or wouldn't have been
It was
susceptible to
women.
the in the first place.
Mhm. No, it was women who were
Right.
healing, and maybe they were opinionated and had some things to say that the men didn't like, and it was really easy to just point and say witch and then get them dunked or strung up
Well,
or
that's
burnt, whatever they were
yeah,
doing, right?
yeah. Because that same technique was also used during the werewolf hunts too.
I don't really know much about werewolf
Yeah.
hunts. Hmm.
That would be the if women were burnt as witches, men were burnt as werewolves.
Oh, I need to learn about that. I don't
Yeah.
know about that one.
Now, I don't know how many cases this happened in, but be prepared for this one. Because whereas witches were burnt and it was done, if a guy was found to be a werewolf, a lot of times his family paid the price for it too.
Ah, interesting. Why? Was that so that they wouldn't get bring retribution, or was that because they were
No, I
considered
mean
to be
like
werewolves as well?
one case was the guy was found to be a werewolf, and then they murdered his wife and daughter too by association.
But was that because they thought they'd be werewolves as well, or just this
I'd
is
have
what
to look
happens
deeper
to
into
you
the
if you're
case, but
okay?
from what I heard about it, no, it was just by association. Because if he was into those evil things, then they must be too. So it could be,
That's what I meant. So
yeah,
they're assuming that they
yeah.
also. Mhm.
As goes the husband, as
Because
goes the family. Basically, was the philosophy. I think was the philosophy.
for example, if you look at the Pol Pot regime in
Right.
Cambodia, the murders that took place there, which were I think 3 million, there was a for a
Mm,
tiny, tiny
it was a
country.
lot.
It was a massive amount of people. And what would happen is they would convict somebody of, I don't know, being human. And not only would that person then be executed, but their entire family and extended family would be as well. And the
Yeah.
theory as to why was so that there would be nobody left to come after the people who
Yes.
did the killing. And so they would literally wipe out entire extended families. I've seen the locations where this stuff took place in Cambodia, and it's oof. You you want to experience a place where there is you can feel the spirit really heavy there.
Mm,
You can feel what went on. That is one such location. The killing fields, um, Seoul 21, which is the school that they turned into a concentration camp and so on, the blood is still there, but you can feel it when your lungs react. Mine did anyway. It's pretty wild. But the rationale behind it was, well, if we get rid of everybody, then nobody can come and get us.
yeah.
And how fast did that happen? How quickly did they decide who was okay and who wasn't?
Yeah.
How devastating was that? And I don't think changing your practices or renouncing a belief.
Well, yes.
I mean,
That's
you only had to wear glasses in that country, and they considered that wearing glasses meant you were intellectual, and that was enough to have you killed.
yeah.
Then your entire family goes because you wore glasses. Can you imagine? Like human beings are extraordinary creatures and can
Mhm.
rationalize doing the most irrational, appalling things to each other. So when you feel that fear, feel the fear and do it anyway. Like really embrace who you are because hiding from it will not help.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? Once you're targeted as whatever it is, there's no amount of renouncing that's going to get you saved.
Right.
Actually,
And the
it's
thing
yeah,
is, the other thing to consider is that, okay, today it might be this group of people and tomorrow it's
yeah.
that group of people. How do you know you're not already in a
Well,
group of
yes, that's
people who's
exactly it.
in the lineup, right?
Yeah, you don't know because you could be doing thinking you're doing the right thing. One day you're I don't know, you're a Protestant, and then some Protestant stands up to the government, and then now all Protestants are evil. But yet,
Right.
yeah,
This has happened before. I'm sure it'll happen again.
yeah,
But not my aim is not to have people feel even more
right.
fear or to feel hopeless, but more to
No,
recognize
you're right.
that, fuck it. I'm going to be who I am and I'm going to look for others like me so that we can build a strong community
Yeah,
and we can overcome the nonsense that's building, that
right.
we can fight back.
The divide and conquer is the whole thing. So if you help the division by renouncing something, but it is funny because I think about once again going back to how we word things, like because I'll my whole thing, and when people have political discussions with me, I'm all like, what, everyone sucks. There's no good politician, blah blah blah, the whole nine yards. I do it with a bit more nuance than that, but then I'll get like, oh, your life must feel so hopeless and be in despair. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm very hopeful. In fact, I'm probably more hopeful than you are because I actually see a better solution instead of keep reiterating the old patterns. That's what
Uh-huh.
we're trying to get to, and then
Yes.
move on to actually something that's actually workful. So I actually do have hope because I see a possibility in the future rather than voting out of fear in the current system.
Yep. I agree with you completely. I mean, we need the community now. We need women,
Right.
particularly, to come out of isolation and share the
Yeah.
stories, not to relive, but to recognize that this is something experienced by many.
Right.
And so keeping yourself small because of it, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the traumas that are particular to women's lot in life, it
Mhm.
seems. Think Rape Academy, Epstein Files, and so on. So many women have been in isolation with their experience, thinking it was them and it was something wrong about them. And that's not true.
Yeah.
It is a much wider experience. So when you can share that, it loses some of its power over you because you're no longer in isolation. And then when you can build community on what is good, what you can do that's positive, progressive, um, counter to the nonsense that's being spouted
Right.
these days, that's where the power is. That's where the good stuff is. So I fully agree with you. The politicians, they all suck. They're just
Mm.
like every single one of them are out for what they can get. If there is one out there who genuinely is there for the people, well, good luck to you, mate. And I don't know that anybody will recognize you because nobody else is like that. But it
Right.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, what can you do where you are, build community? That's what matters.
Yep.
And then we start to see the changes. And so the story you started us off
Mm.
with was perfect for this entire podcast. That's it. Just because somebody's a Klansman,
Mm.
maybe they don't have to stay that way.
Right. Well, they're a Klansmen for a reason, whether it was a good reason, but odds are someone scared them into it. And when they
Well,
saw
it
they didn't
can't
have
have
to
been a good
fear,
reason, honestly. Can't have been a good reason. Simply because if you're in
mm,
a group because the thing that ties you together is hating another
right?
group, then that is a problem.
Yeah.
Inherently, that is a problem. How can you hate an entire group of people that you don't know? Like it doesn't make sense. It's why? You tick these boxes, therefore I hate you. It's stupid ass waste of
Yeah,
energy. So there's
I
no good
agree.
reason for it, but I can see how some sort of get introduced to it because they don't have anything else they're being introduced to. There's nothing to get their critical thinking going. Maybe they
Right.
don't have the critical thinking skills, whatever. But the point is that can change. Just like being stuck in your trauma story forever. You don't have to be, it can change. So that's the key message, I think, is do more of what you're here to do. Absolutely practice
Mm,
your magic full on. Don't back down at all. And look for the solutions around you so that you can do things better
right.
and help others along the way, because that's where our strength is.
Yep. All right. So something I was going to throw in, but it wasn't important, so it interrupted the flow of dialogue. But what you might want to notice about the podcast is because we had said, right, it's not necessarily the words we're using that matter. It could be the discussions it blah, blah, that it sparks. But also, like, we had said at the beginning, right? Oh, so I'm also learning. Well, and it's part of the title, right? It's us too. We have to do it too. So
Mhm.
you're also seeing our evolution at the same time
Yep.
while we're doing this. So we're not just telling you what to do, we're also showing an example. Maybe sometimes to our personal frustrations, but shit, are we still here? Jesus, but
Uh-huh.
but
Well,
we're also showing you where what it looks like.
since this podcast began with me in it, my
Right.
my me joining, I was pretty much in the witch closet at that
Right.
point, and when we first began. And the way I like to think of it is, the doors were off the closet, so if you
Mm.
looked in, you would see me there,
Right.
but if you weren't looking, you wouldn't see me. So it was kind of, am I really out of the closet? Not entirely, that was kind of one of those, yeah, but no. And I have come so far out of the closet now that people laugh to even think I was in one.
Yeah.
Because they're like, "Oh, you are so out there. You are not hidden at all. You are really,
Mm.
really out there."
Yeah.
And that's true, and I'm loving it. But just think of the space of time that that has happened in. I was first introduced to occult when I was like 15.
Yeah.
That is a while ago now. So it has been many, many years sitting in a closet, quietly
Yeah.
doing my thing. And yeah, so it's only recently, relatively
Yeah.
recently, that I've become really visible. So I am walking the talk.
Yeah. Well, it's like because we've both been doing it for a very long time.
Mhm.
So, like, I've been doing it
Yep.
theoretically, depending on who you ask, since I was 3. That's my earliest understanding of it. Like, I would argue 6 because I can point to stuff at 6 years old. I don't know about earlier, but but still, I was doing the same thing as Michaela. It's like it wasn't completely hidden. There were times where I was like very open, but then I would like not talk about it after a while, and then I'm like, okay, who knows stuff about this? And then try to think like, okay, who do I talk? Who have I talked to this about? Who found out secondhand? It's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, like I can't manage this anymore. I'm just gonna like just do it. But that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
so
and
we've been
and
doing it for
there's
a long
different
time, and
reasons.
yeah, we've been doing it for a long time, and we haven't exactly always been running around with banners going, you know,
Nope, I am now.
yeah,
But no,
well,
for the
yeah,
longest time, not. But there's also different life circumstances as well. Well, I have to consider these people,
yeah,
and I'm in that country, and I'm in this place, and and all of that is external stuff, which means
mhm,
it's excuses, really. Um, but they seemed legit and important at the time. And maybe it was just that that wasn't my time to be as visible as I am now.
right,
That's okay. Be that as it may. Point is, the journey continues and the evolution continues and the dive in deeper into what I do continues. And so, yeah, I'm kind of seeing that and saying, well, I think this is the path. At least if it's your path, you'll know it's your path,
yeah,
right? It's to just do more and find your people.
yeah. And now is a good time as any to do it. In fact,
It's the time.
right. But it's not just that. Like, you know how we always talk about the algorithm, right? And it'll bring you to, it'll do its best to put you basically in your own little hole, like your own little bubble. I mean, you might as well take advantage of it, right? If you start talking about witchy stuff or whatever, well, then the algorithm's probably going to push you towards a group of people. So
It does. It
make things
does,
work
which I
for
really
you.
appreciate.
Make things work for you.
And I appreciate it, you know, and a lot of the witchy things that come my way from the algorithm, a lot of them are really good. Every now and then there's one that's just like, you're playing.
Yeah,
And that's okay. You know, you speak to your people, but I'll keep moving, thanks. And that's fine. Like I don't want to spend time judging other people's levels or anything because that's who am I to do that?
right,
And why would I spend my energy there? It's not beneficial. It's not
right.
helpful.
So nice.
Except, of course, we both get caught up in the whole,
Yeah.
you know, the some of those groups that start
Oh
with
yeah.
the can somebody
I
help me with an egg cleanse
Yeah. Well,
or
I just like I joined like 4 or 5 groups yesterday. I was like, I'm done with this. I can't sit here anymore in this. I did it because I knew people who had joined it and I wanted to see what they were learning. But now it's like I'm done. For my own self, I'm out of it.
huh? Yeah. Well, sometimes it's interesting to go in, see what's going
Yeah.
on, and then head out again. But um, I think the main thing is to be unapologetically you,
Right.
and wherever that takes you, that's where you go.
Yeah.
That's the fun stuff. And I discover things all the time now that I'm thoroughly out of the closet. For example, I think I told you about this woman that had been avoiding me the entire weekend
Mm-hmm.
at an in-person event. And when she came up and said, I don't like the word witch, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been avoiding you. When I asked her to tell me what the problem was with the word witch, you know, but cutting the uncomfortable story short, it seemed that her education about witches basically came from Disney. Well,
Ah,
I am not going to alter how I show up or be concerned about this person's opinion when it's a freaking Disney movie that they're referencing. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And so I took it as an opportunity to sort of offer a different perspective
Mm.
and say, well, um, I think you can see that that's not the case. You've been glaring at me all weekend. So, you know, you can see that that's not accurate. So what else is there for you? You know,
Mm.
what else is bothering you? And it was uncomfortable and she didn't know what to do with it
Mm.
because she just hadn't come across somebody that said, I'm a witch. And she just didn't know what to do.
It's interesting that as an adult, she admitted to that.
Right? Well, I think she was taken off guard because I asked.
Yeah.
But I mean, she came over to inform me that she wasn't happy about me. She'd been avoiding me for the weekend. And she threw down the sentence of I don't like the word witch like it was a challenge that I had to
Right.
respond to, right? That I needed to either defend myself or back off from what I was saying. And it was just interesting to me that she thought that that was something that she needed to push forward, right?
Right.
That she should challenge me to not be who I am.
Right. It's funny because being open
So
for these
interesting.
discussions, right, offers you like one, since I brought up the whole idea of letting the algorithm find witches for you, kind of a thing. I'm like, you're actually with everyone trying to consolidate power, they've actually created a path for you to make use of.
Yeah.
You can find more stuff now because how do you find something, right? You look at, oh, what are people banning? Oh, well, I'm going to go find that thing that people are banning, right? People are advertising to you all the resources you need.
Yeah.
They're telling you all the things they don't want you to know, they're telling you. Now, if you're a good obedient person, fine, that won't help you. But as a practitioner of magic, the one thing you probably shouldn't be is a good obedient person because it's your power you're taking back.
Yeah.
You can be
Yeah. I'm not
cooperative.
sure.
Cooperative is one thing.
Cooperative
Obedient is another.
selectively.
What's that?
Cooperative selectively.
Yes.
But obedient, it
Mhm.
requires obedience requires you not thinking about what you're agreeing to. You just do it anyway.
Right.
I've never been good with that, I gotta say. You will
But
be
it,
stunned
yeah,
to know.
yeah. But it's interesting, right? So if someone says this group of people are bad, well, you go find out about those group of people because there's a secret in there that you need to know because you're being told not to like those people. So there's something in there that you can learn. And same thing. Don't read
Oh
this book.
yeah.
Oh, there's something in this book I can really learn. You know,
Mhm. Yes. And books that are banned, like best book to go read,
right?
typically speaking, is
They're
a
yeah,
banned
because they're
book.
usually
Why?
pretty
Because it's going to make
eye-opening
you
and
think.
ask very important questions.
Yeah, those books are going to make you think.
Mm,
That's precisely why they're written the way they're written, and that's exactly why they get banned.
yeah,
Because if you don't mind, we just want people who are, in fact, obedient, who will be swayed where we want them to be swayed, and they'll follow the directions we give, no matter how ludicrous they are. And there you go.
right.
They will
So
capitulate
yeah,
quickly. And we see that. Like, oh my God, so many sort of CEOs and that level in companies are it's like a house of cards, blowing them and
mhm.
they fall down. Like look at the media companies that are firing, comedians that have been there
Oh,
for decades. They've been there so long. And big part of what they do is political satire.
yeah,
Well, now you can't do that anymore. And these companies, they cave so quickly. Really? You
yeah,
can't weather a little adversity in order to, stand up for somebody that's been bringing you money for the last couple of decades? Like, I don't know. I think it's interesting how fast they cave.
right. Yeah. So
Boy Scouts apparently caved real fast.
yeah.
Like, what? Why? What were they threatened with?
Well, given at least some of the history of the Boy Scouts, I can take a guess.
Well, yes, I know, and they're probably in the Epstein files, but the
Yeah,
point is those aren't being released, are they? So
yeah,
what are they afraid of that's not already out there?
yeah.
It's so interesting to me that, and these politicians who are afraid to stand up and say no. Well, Judas Priest, first of all, why are you a politician? Because,
Yeah.
that's supposed to require some moral fiber and gumption and what have you.
Some desire to
And
fight.
what
You had to
exactly are
fight to
you
get into the
afraid
place.
of?
Yeah,
Yeah, but what are you afraid of? What are they going to do to you? And if it's something like a job loss, please
yeah.
tell me it's not that because, all across America, people are losing their jobs all over the place, and
Well,
and that's it.
I'll plead the left for a second. If I'm to believe Ross Perot or Marjorie Taylor Greene, families are at stake. Like life of your family is
Uh
at stake.
well, here's the thing. I'm not sure I do believe either of them.
Right,
I'm not going to say that what they're saying is inaccurate.
right.
I'm just questioning if that's true, then why are they saying it now
Yeah. Well, that's why I
as
said if I'm
opposed
to
to,
believe rather than just stating it
yeah.
bluntly.
I got questions. I got
Yeah,
questions. I wouldn't dismiss it, but I'm definitely not going to jump on the wagon and say, "Oh, that's why you were so vehemently opposed to anything rational and absolutely jumped on board with
right.
gusto." Gotcha. Like,
Yeah, it's like
because I
there's
feel fairly sure I could feel fairly sure a politician could just sort of say, "Okay, you know what? I'm just going to quietly back out of here, and I'm not going to make any noise, and I'm going to go away now, and you leave me and my family alone." And I'm pretty
yeah,
sure they could do that so long as they didn't
yeah,
make
it
any
would be a
noise.
quieter exit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, but also from the fear perspective, right? Like if they
Hmm.
were actually afraid for their own safety, then they just back out quietly. And none of them have done that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think with a lot of politicians right now who are saying stuff like that, they've seen which way the wind is blowing and they're trying to get ahead of the game.
yeah, well, we all see them.
Yeah,
So, I don't think so.
but not
But we
everyone
definitely,
does.
well, no, evidently. We wouldn't be in the mess we're in. But the people who they're trying to persuade, I think, can generally see.
Yeah, I hope so.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting, right? So it's just stuck in my mind now, right? The whole idea of right now people are doing your work for you. They think you're doing it against you, but if you use it properly, they're working for you. They're showing you where to go by telling you not to go there. they're trying to pigeonhole you, and that pigeonholing, because they're not using proper context, is opening up people to you. I mean, you still have to use your senses, right? You still have to use your discernment. Like
Mhm.
just being directed to a witches group doesn't mean it's a good witches group for you to go to, but it just
Oh
cut out
God,
a lot
no.
of work you had to do.
But I mean, it gives you variety and
Yeah.
choice. And the nice thing about that too is
Mm.
it helps you to see what's out there.
Yes.
Like what makes you uncomfortable. Because some groups you're going to see the person representing them or what have you, and there's going to be an instinctive sort of, whoa, no, out of here, don't like this person. Others, you may just think they're being frivolous or whatever and not like
Mm.
them. And then another one you're going to be drawn to. So, well, I love the curiosity, the questioning. Like I'm a full-on Gemini here, so I like to question. Um, okay, I like that person. Why do I like them?
Mm.
What attracted me? What do I appreciate about them? Or um, is it even just something as essentially banal as the color scheme that they have around them? Because, like, if somebody puts a goth kind of image out there,
Right.
I am straight in. Like 100%. You're gonna draw me in. Make it spidery and gothy and stuff, and I'm straight in there.
Right.
There's I know that about myself. But would I stay? Well, it depends on what else is there, right? And that's the bit where you got to be curious. Like, is there something more than that thing that's always gonna pull me in? So
Right. Yeah. Like we all have preferences, right? Things we prefer over other
exactly.
things that attract us over others. Doesn't mean we're stuck and we're bound by those things.
Right.
You're bound by those things if you're not self-aware. Like I said, the whole
Yes.
music thing, right, comes back to that. It's like you're bound to that because you're not aware enough to be able to look at it. Why is it like that? Like I said, and I repeat this because it's crazy because like I have a hell of a time watching old TV shows that I used to love as a kid. Because people go, let's watch this. Remember we used to like it? And I'm like, yeah, I remember. I still don't want to watch it.
Right. Yeah, and it kind of depends, and it depends on why I liked it. But yeah, see, I don't have a
Mm,
not disattachment, but like I don't pull away from
right.
those things either
It's not
necessarily.
that
It
there's not
depends.
shows. It's not that there's not shows I will rewatch. It's just that it's not the same appeal. That call is not the same.
Well,
The
it
show had
shouldn't
to be
be.
like really good for me to watch it again.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the same because you're an adult now.
Right.
So you see things differently.
Yeah.
It's just like the person who says, "Oh, when I lived in this particular
Mm.
town, all the trees were so huge." And they go back and visit the
Right.
town and they're like, "Oh, well, I remember these trees, but they're so much smaller now."
Yeah.
No, they're not. You grew up, you got bigger. That was what happened, and your perspective shifted. So, how many places do we do that in? Hopefully, as many as possible. Perspective shifting is so important.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you
I mean,
still
you can
feel
either
the same way
reinforce
you
it.
did when you were 10,
Right.
then I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, and I've noticed that over the years about the things I choose to watch and the things I choose to consume. It's like, yeah, it's different when I was a kid, but if I go back and look at those things I did as a kid, it's like, oh yeah, I know, I get why I liked it as a kid, but as an adult, I cannot. Like I said, like there's comes a point, like I love cartoons, and I used to love Disney stuff, but it's like as an adult, I can only tolerate so much, and I would argue I'm late to that part for an adult, but even I've hit that limit of like I can't.
Well, I'm still a fan of the early Doctor Who's
Mm,
and the very first series of Star Trek.
mm.
To me, nothing after that is as good, simply because they started taking themselves seriously after that. And the
Well,
first one, they really don't. And you've got the styrofoam rocks and
yeah,
I love the special effects. Like this is totally a sidetrack, but I love the special effects
no,
in that
that is one
first
of my
Star
things about
Trek.
old science fiction is some old science fiction, like the special effects, that's the goal. That's just the thing on its own. It's just seeing
It
those special
is.
effects again.
It's a thing of beauty. Like I absolutely love those old special
Mm.
effects. And it kind of pissed me off when the first three episodes of Star Wars
Mm.
were
Oh yeah,
remastered.
yeah.
they were remastered, and I was like, oh man, I liked them the way they were before. I
Yeah.
liked the little faults and the shadows where there shouldn't be any and stuff
Mm,
like that. I like that. It's fun. It's like there's movies from I think it's the 50s, could even be earlier than that, like Nosferatu.
right.
So you see this guy,
Yeah.
and he's creeping through the graveyard, and you
Mm,
can see the cardboard gravestones waving in the wind as
mm.
he walks past. I love that stuff. Like I can watch that all day, but I don't want to watch the thing that actually looks realistic. Like
Mm.
it's not fun.
Well, I was gonna say
Anyway, that
like,
was a total sidetrack, but
yeah,
it's kind of how I if I'm going to watch something old, I like to see it in its original shape,
yeah,
not messed with so it looks serious now. Don't give me
yeah.
the serious stuff.
I was gonna say the only things I like to rewatch, really, like almost without like having to be convinced, is old horror movies because of
I
like,
like them if they're bad. I like them
right.
if they're really, really bad.
But I find like, we're going off topic here. Lon Chaney Jr. Lon Chaney Jr.'s dedication to playing a monster and the things he would do, the prosthetics, no matter how painful they were, like really sold the monster sometimes. Like if you when he did Phantom of the Opera, I think to make what he had done, I think it was the Phantom of the Opera. It looked brutal, like because it wasn't like layers of plastic on him distorting his face. It was actually stuff inside, literally
Uh-huh.
distorting his face. I was like, you see it like when you're a little kid. That's like it violates all your sense of reality of like what looks. You see the pain basically, you know.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, that was
But
our.
I guess that little sidetrack's all about perspective, right?
Well, and it
And
shows, right, that we're part of it too. We're in there. That's why you can learn from just
uh-huh.
watching us talk or listen to us talk because we're going through that journey too. Even if we're asked to share this stuff, it's not because we're beyond it. It's just because we're cognizant of it.
I think too, that's the key difference
Yeah,
is if you're aware that I like this, this is why I like it, and maybe there's a time period that it also invokes for you when you first saw this
right.
thing or when you first connected to it. All of those things are absolutely valid and you can choose them. You can sort of say, yeah, I have this connection to it and I like it. I'm happy with it. You don't have to change everything either.
Right.
That's not the point. It's just the awareness piece of just recognizing things for what they are and the value they bring
But
and the
yeah,
value they don't have, right?
you're allowed to like whatever you like, even if we don't like it. In fact, I recommend if you like something, be cognizant of why you like it. Because some of the best conversations I've had have been about things I hate. But because the person is so cognizant of why they like something, when I ask questions, they have like these deep, rich things, and they draw me in for the conversation. Even if when the conversation's over, I still don't like the thing. For that moment, while the person was sharing what they felt about it, I was like there with them. You know?
Well, again, it's perspective,
Yeah.
right? And being able to look at it from a different angle, but it doesn't mean that you have to change how you show up with it. It just means that you're aware.
Yeah.
There's that extra layer of openness to seeing it in a different way. And then you can go back to what you like.
Yep.
Obviously, we're not here to tell anybody to do differently, but sometimes it's like with this woman that said, I don't like the word witch. When fair play to her, she stayed there while I questioned what the
Mm-hmm.
problem was and where she was thinking of it. But when basically the only thing she could answer me for her sources
Mm-hmm.
was like probably Disney, then we both kind of looked at each other with just, okay, there's a thing. That's something to consider.
Right.
Maybe you want to reconsider that. Maybe you want to learn some more, or maybe just realize that you're basing a dislike of somebody on Disney,
Yeah.
which isn't really a very solid reason, right?
No. And they're already known to wildly distort the original media or the original content they take from. So,
Right. But I mean, with Disney and witches, they went with the stereotype, the
right.
big nose, the green
Mm-hmm.
skin, etc., etc., and the bizarre concept that Oh, well, that one got killed, but don't worry, she was a bad witch. I'm a good
Yeah,
witch.
yeah,
Follow me. And they do. Like, how stupid is that? You can't trust somebody because they say they're a good witch. What does a good witch mean anyway? What is that? I'm not sure I know. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure I have an answer for that one. What is a good witch? Does it
yeah,
mean they're really good at their practice? Because I'm tolerably certain it doesn't mean that they only do, cotton candy sweet things.
yeah,
And if it is, I'm a little worried about that too, because it's rather one-dimensional. So what's happening there?
yeah,
It's an interesting thing that I'm curious about that. So actually, if anybody's listening who identifies as a good witch, I would absolutely love you to contact us, please. How by whatever means
mm,
you have available to you, because I would like to know, please, what constitutes a good witch. What do you mean by I'm a good witch? And
yeah,
I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong because I don't know, but I'm really interested to know the definitions that are possible out there.
yeah,
What is a good witch? By whose reckoning? Always? Like, interesting.
yeah,
And Cake's Breath even got
mm,
upset about Wicca.
yeah,
Now, Wicca, and there probably are some Wiccans listening. I I got nothing against Wicca per se, other than it is another religion and it has a rule book.
mm,
And there are strictures. You can't do this, and you need to do it that way, and so on and so forth. And I reject that from anybody's direction. But I mean, Wicca, they're so I I have this image of Little Red Riding Hood, right? Only
mm,
without the wolf.
right,
It's like the cookies in the basket and the all the nice things. Probably a definition of a good witch even would be a
yeah,
Wiccan. Maybe that's a definition. But I mean, you can't be mad at them. So Cake's Breath saying that this is a group that's on he's on outs with, right? That they're not acceptable. Bloody hell. If this group of people can outlaw or other a group
right,
like Wicca, dude, you're not safe no matter what you are. Because you can't get more gentle than that lot.
yeah. Well, it is
They're not
kind
going
of
to do
the
any, they're not even going to frown at you.
yeah.
They're not going to do anything.
It makes me think it's the modern equivalent of the, I don't remember who made this speech, but it was a political speech, and the person was saying, "My opponent is a Homo sapien, and his sister's a practicing thespian."
Right? It sounds like something Mackenzie King would have said.
Yeah, it sounds like something in that vicinity. It's like I'm using this
Uh,
word because people can associate it with something bad, but not because they actually know what it means.
right. It sounds like something.
Yeah,
They still do tests like that on people now, where, somebody will be in New York, for example, asking
mm,
passers-by a question. And I've
mm,
seen this where they say, "Do you think Homo sapiens should be banned?" Yeah, they go against nature. Yeah, we should get rid of all
yeah,
Homo sapiens. And I'm like, well, well, you have a point. However, that kind of
mm,
means all of us. So I'm not
yeah,
anyway. It's really funny because people are just, I don't know that word, therefore it must be a bad thing.
yeah,
And it has homo in it.
yeah,
So that must be gay, right? Like
yeah,
there was something um with the current issues health issues in the US and this
mm,
screwworm thing that's attacking the beef, that
yeah,
it was under control when the US was funding the research and
yeah,
the overseeing of it, but it got cut out from grants and so on because Doge came across trends. It
yeah,
was, I think it was transmutation, could be transmission, but trans was there, and that was enough for their algorithm to
yeah,
pick it up
yeah.
and,
I remember
and
that.
chop
Yeah.
it, right?
Hmm.
So anything trans is bad. I mean, for fuck's sake, really? Anything trans is bad. So transient
Yep.
is bad, or transmission is
Hmm.
bad. Translation. There are many, many words that begin with trans.
Yep.
You can pull them all. Like, oh my God. We live in insane times, gotta say.
Yep. And you got to wonder how much of the stupidity is feigned stupidity and how much of it is genuine stupidity.
Hmm, that's true. And how much of it is callous stupidity? They
Yeah.
know it's wrong, but they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I suspect
Well,
there's a lot in that category.
there's actually another little aside. I heard someone said something today, one of the political terms that I don't like to hear that triggered me a little bit. Someone was talking about Mark Carney and defending him and said, well, he's running the country like a business. And I'm like, that's the worst thing you can ever say about a politician in my presence, because that's the first politician I want to get rid of. Because if you run it like a business, there's things you just can't do in the government that you can do in a business. And in
And
fact, if we look at all the major crises that happened recently, we know the last thing that's intelligent is a business.
and if you look at what's happening in the US right now, we also have a leader that's running it like a business, only
Yeah,
he runs all of his businesses into the
yeah,
ground and leaves a bunch of people unpaid.
yeah,
So running it like a business,
yeah,
but we aren't. And where do the people fit in to a business?
yeah,
Like what are we? The disposable workers? Um, and especially as the people you vote into power are supposed to be there representing you, they are there for you, not you being there for
yeah,
them.
yep,
So if you're running a business, then the whole thing's turned upside down
yeah,
because the people that work for you, you are not working for them.
right.
So you're right. Like I agree with your stance on that entirely. Running it like a business is not a good thing.
To be charitable, I believe the idea they were trying to get across is that he was being responsible, but that's never been something that I completely associate with the business to begin with.
Yeah. And if the listener could see the faces I'm pulling on
Yeah.
that one, it's like, yeah, no. And okay, let's go there for a
Mm,
second. I work in behavior analysis,
right.
and I can tell you, having worked in 4 states so far, and for more companies than I care to mention, there is commonality among all of these companies, and that
Mm,
is they are eventually run so badly
mm,
that there are many, many problems with it that typically start with ethical issues. Those are usually the first things to show up. Then there are, should we say, some legal sketchiness happening,
right.
which is awfully close to the ethical issues. And then you get into full on, let's take advantage of the people who work for us here.
Mm,
And we'll squeeze whatever we can out of them. And then when they go, we get the next person up. That, to me, is how businesses are run because that is the experience I have
yeah.
with, like I said, more than I care to remunerate at this point. But yeah, that's not a good thing. They are not well run. They are not run by people with knowledge of how to do what they're doing, which seems to be a lot of politicians too. And it doesn't end well for the people that they're supposed to be serving.
Right. Yeah. That's what I say every time I hear someone say run like a business. I'm like, businesses have made some very poor decisions in the name of chasing money because they were only
Oh yeah.
chasing money. That's it. So you can't run a country. You can't chase money as a country. It's not a thing you can do.
Yeah,
Money is a
yeah.
tool at your disposal as a country, but it's not something you can just chase all the time.
And
Can't be your
the other thing
priority.
with that approach,
Yeah.
the other thing with that approach is you are going to cut your losses
Yep.
as a business,
Hmm.
and your losses are typically the poorer people,
Yep.
right? You're going to just, instead of supporting the poorest among you or those who need the help, such as those with special needs and so on, you're just going to cut them off because they're a waste of time. They take your money and they don't do anything useful. So let's not worry about them. We'll cut back on those social programs and what have you. Um, I take a pretty large issue with
Yeah.
that. But that's, if you're running a place like a business, that's what you're going to do.
Yep.
So, yeah, the more I think into the whole thing of so and so's running the place like a business, the more I think that's a fucking problem.
Yep.
Like, that is not a good thing at all. You
Yeah.
may
Because
mean it well, but
and it's
that's
because
not
something
what
I
I'm
don't hear very
receiving.
often anymore, which is also why it stood out to me. But like in the 2010s and before that, I used to hear it all the time. And I'm like, that's still a dumb way to do things. You can't treat a country like a business. But, and then it kind of tapered down a little bit. That's why it surprised me because then I heard it again and I'm like, hold on, you know, we're not supposed to be running countries like businesses. Like I said, at my most charitable, he was trying to just say he had good practices, quote unquote discipline, whatever. But like I said, that's at my most charitable. And I have no desire to be charitable on that one.
Yeah, no, I've still got alarm bells going off
Yeah.
for that
Oh
whole
no, that's exactly what happened to me.
concept.
My brain just went, you know,
Yeah. No, there's alarm bells with that. That's like, that cannot be good. There's so
yeah.
many ways that cannot be good. And, that particular politician has an awful lot of experience in
Hmm.
managing things without using emotion as a
Right.
tool, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things that, in sort of women's conversations that I'm having at the moment is looking at where have we as women tried to do things that way, the male way of going
Hmm.
A to B, very linear, very logical progression, and so on, and not bringing emotion into it. Whereas woman's strength is to bring emotion into it. That's the whole point. Is you make decisions from a different space, following a different sort of varied terrain trajectory, but that is valid.
Right.
And when we try and do it the male way, the masculine energy way, it doesn't work very well, as we have seen. So, running a country like a company in a very masculine A to B,
Mm.
let's cut our losses kind of way, not liking it. Nope, not feeling good about that at all. Unfortunately, your other choice is a bit of a nut job. So your problem is the same as the problem here. We didn't have a lot
Yeah.
of options.
Yeah. But actually, you brought the discussion to a good place because it's true. Because this brings us back to the balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Both have their uses, but you can't just strictly focus on one. There needs to be that
And
harmony.
if it's not yours, if it's not
Yeah.
yours, right? If it's not your system, then trying to emulate and behave as though it is doesn't work well. When women are CEOs of companies, for example, they typically get stressed and burnt out,
Mhm.
not from the position that they're in, but the fact that they're trying to do it in a masculine
Yep.
way. And because that's what the men expect. And so they buy into the whole idea that, oh, well, this is how I have to be. And no, it isn't. Like that's exactly incorrect. You can't show up that way as a woman because that's not how you're built. That's not how you operate. It's like telling I don't know, a Mac to be a PC. Like there's differences. They're
Yeah.
both computers, so we're both human, but we have different ways of doing things. The operating systems are not the same.
Right. Don't use the same protocols. Yeah. But I just thought it was a good way. I just thought it was good to get there because it also brings us back to the magical stuff too at the same time, right? Like right now is the rise of the divine feminine, but it's because there's disharmony,
Mhm.
which is
Yep.
why love is the destroyer in this case, because it's the bringing back to the divine feminine, to bring us back to not just a strictly, clinical, no room for emotion approach that you get when the divine masculine comes out of balance or is needed in a desperate situation, you know?
Or is encouraged to highlight those
Yes.
traits
Yep.
by a divisive system,
Hmm.
which is patriarchy. It's a divisive system. And it has men, feeling that if they're not dominating the women in their lives, then they're not even doing it right. They're not showing up right. So there's a pressure on men to behave in a way that actually isn't natural. It's not, this is not normal to want to subjugate the person you're with. Like
Right.
that's not normal. That's not natural. It's like it's not normal or natural for a woman to be submissive. Shit. Says who? When? Like that's
Yeah.
not even remotely true. But we all
Listen,
get sold on these. We get
the
sold on
environment I
these
grew up in,
lies.
I would have to fight you strongly on the idea that women are submissive.
Well, yeah, if I was to propose that, yes,
Yeah.
I think you would have to. I've met your sister.
Yeah.
And I haven't met your mom, but I've heard enough about her that I imagine you did not grow up in an environment with submissive women.
Nope.
Um, and ladies, that's a very good thing. But yeah, the whole idea that this group have to dominate that group and this group is less worthy of
Right.
the sort of daily rights that the other group has, that's the divisiveness. That's the whole divide and conquer thing that's going on.
Yeah.
It has no basis in fact whatsoever. Now, someone said to me the other day, "Oh, men, they're terrible. Women are so much better than men." I'm like, whoa, 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 hold the phone.
Mm.
Okay, so, all right, you're a survivor of domestic violence.
Mm.
That explains the
Right.
strong response. However, when you are able to look at this a little differently, I would like to offer another perspective because, I don't agree that again it's sectioning off a group of society and saying they're all bad,
Yeah.
hate them all, and we really we have a lot of work to do to overcome the deep division that has been put there. That's the thing. We've got a lot to overcome,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's the thing,
community
right?
is the way to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, you know what? Actually, that's the mic drop. All the flows
Cool.
for the episode kind of went together on that one.
And I'm waving my wand,
Yeah. Yes.
which I've done a lot today.
Yes. Absolutely. So yeah. So as a reassurance, Michaela and I are doing everything we're talking about on the thing. We're giving you living examples as we go through the episodes. If you listen and you check how we talk, and a lot of our vocabulary has changed, the way we present things has changed, wording we've used has changed. We've, yes, been very more
Evolved.
open in the way we speak about things.
Well, there's an evolution happening,
Yeah,
and I think that's ideal from my perspective anyway. That's to me, if you're not evolving, then you're devolving
right.
because nothing stays static, and I choose not to devolve. So, yeah.
Yeah. So take that, listeners.
Yeah, take that. Would you like one more card?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to do a quick random pick. And we have transformation. Embrace change as a chance to grow and evolve. It's a journey towards becoming your best self. That cracks me up because I literally just pulled that after I said, "Do you want me to pull a card?" There
Yeah,
it is. Ta-da!
that's good for
I'm
everyone.
enjoying this crow deck. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Well, it is. Yeah. Like, I think I said it last episode. I need a deck where the art is like strong, for lack of a better word. It needs to bold, it needs to stand out. It needs
Mhm.
to have a presence.
Yep, this is all very dark crow type presence, which like I told you, I'm into all things goth, so crows work beautifully for me. I love to watch the crows outside as they play. In fact, as we've got a storm coming in, there should be
Mm.
some good crow action going on. I'm gonna go and have a look.
All right. So once again,
He's Daniel Dubois.
she's Michaela Gaffinstone. I'm trying to get your accent right in your name.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So until next time.
À la prochaine.